This is continuing my project of a mat as part of my bedroll weaving project. I'm following my own pattern that I wrote for a bedroll. I had warped a backstrap loom with cotton rug, Mayville rug warp, cotton warp, double strand in each of the 256 holes in the heddle. I have just started to weave, and I'm using hand-spun Navajo Churro brownish black wool. I have I think it's a 30-inch or a 32-inch stick shuttle that I'm using. This wool had a lot of vegetable matter in it, and you can see it's showing up every once in a while as our little puffy areas of yarn. It's not going to matter on this project for me because this is a mat that goes on the ground as part of this bedroll, where this is a mat on the bottom. Then there's what I call an inner blanket that you would put over you. But this is the bottom mat that you would actually sleep on. You can see I have the warp tied to a front beam with another dowel holding that in place. I've woven about 7 inches, and it's getting to the point where I have my back strap on around me, and it's getting to the point where it's a little difficult to reach. And at this point, you would start to roll up the front of your work, fasten it on the ends. After you roll it up, move your ties for your back strap so that you are holding it in place, and roll it up from this end as you work toward the back. I'm using the Kromsky rigid heddle, a 32-inch rigid heddle, and that of course will just move up with the warp. And by rolling it up like this as you work, you will be moving forward, but you're always within your own arm's reach. One other thing, I'm standing. I have the back beam attached to a frame that's about 2 feet off the ground, and I'm standing, so the warp is actually draping downward. I have a chair nearby. I could be sitting in a chair, or I could be sitting on the ground and working the same way. I prefer to stand up. I've taken the back strap off for a moment. I have to roll the front beam up a little bit, but I thought I'd show you. That's about 2 feet, a little more than 2 feet woven, and this mat is going to work out very well. It's an unbalanced weave because the warp is thin cotton thread, and even though it's double strand, it's thinner than the wool. But as you can see, it's almost coming out a somewhat balanced weave. It's very soft, which is surprising me, and I think it's excuse me, going to be very durable. I've only been doing this less than an hour, and I got that much done. So using a worsted to bulky weight hand spun with cotton warp, it goes very quickly. And I will definitely finish this today. And the next step is to make 2 strips that go on either side of this mat section. When I do get to the end up there, I'm going to put fringe on both ends, I think, or I might. I think I end up finishing that end when I add the pillow section, the pillow liner. So I don't need it to be twined at that end when I take it off the loom. So I will finish weaving the rest of it, and when I get to that end of it, I will cut the warp close to the beam that I have it on, and then I will just carefully tape the end, put maybe masking tape across the end to hold everything in place. I'll probably leave like a 2-inch amount of fringe, maybe a little longer, but put masking tape across that to keep it in place until I'm at the point where I'm going to sew the muslin or the fabric in place. But this blanket mat section will take me about 2.5 hours total once the loom is warped, and then I would be doing the 3 inner blanket sections the same way as I've been doing this, except they have they have a total less warp count. I think they have 160 ends each panel, and this has 256. So you're making, when you do the inner blanket sections, you're making 3 20-inch panels instead of one, say, 32 to 34-inch panel, however wide this actually comes out. But you can see it is wide enough for one person to lie down on, and that's the point with this part of it. Once I put the 2 strips on either side, it makes it a little wider. It also protects the ends of the weaving. In the past, I've done those on inkle looms, just done 2 long bands. I think this time I may do it on a small 6-inch backstrap loom that I have, because I can measure out the warp, and I can use this frame and have it the same. I still have my stake here when I measured this warp, so I can warp a small backstrap loom to the same length as this mat, and then just make 2 strips, and the rest of the sewing instructions are included in my pattern. But this is the actual weaving of the mat section, and the blanket sections are done the same way, only they have a different end count.